Coming up next on Two Cops, One Donut. People's concerns are always going to be, what are you looking at? What is this AI looking into? Where's this stuff stored? How long is it going to be stored? Obviously, I'm hoping the police, when you guys are selling to police departments and things like that, I hope they're asking these questions as well. But if you were to go to a town hall meeting with me, and I'm operating as my PD, and we're considering you guys to come in, and whether it's your company or whoever, but I'm having you come in. What are you telling the citizens to put their mind at ease about violations of their rights? All right, welcome back to Cops One Donut. I am your host, Eric Levine, and with me today, I have Taylor May, a former Oklahoma. I know. I'm from Michigan. I hate Ohio, so it just naturally comes out when I say something with an O. Oklahoma University football player?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Okay, make sure I get that right. And Ryan Barnett, the CEO of Vetted Holdings, also former military vet. How you guys doing today?
Great, man. Appreciate the time to speak with you.
Not a problem. That's Taylor, if you're wondering, if you're just listening to the podcast. And Ryan, how you doing, brother?
Happy to be here on a Friday, sir.
Okay, so if you're tuning into this episode and you're like, what the fuck's this episode going to be about? We're going to get into LPRs, which is license plate readers. We're going to talk about Big Brother, which is always a concern when we talk about those things. We're going to talk about security. We'll start with just our nation, security for the nation, and we'll talk about artificial intelligence and how that can possibly be leading the way for the security when it comes to police, military, our borders, all of those things. That's what comes to mind when I start thinking of this stuff from the cop perspective. Obviously, the concerns from citizens that come to mind right away is Big Brother. Are you invading my privacy, my rights, Fourth Amendment rights, civil rights, all these things? So we'll get into all that. But before we do, it's always nice just to get to know who the hell we're talking to. So I want to start with Taylor May. Sir, where are you from? Obviously, we know where your education level's at, but kind of walk me through what led you to where you're at today.
Yeah, first and foremost, Eric, appreciate the time. Ryan, always a pleasure, man, to speak with you. Taylor May, been in the DFW Metroplex all my life pretty much. I was graduated from Plano Senior High School, then got my undergrad at Oklahoma State, played a little college ball at OSU, came back down to Dallas, then got my master's degree at the University of Dallas in Irving, and then kind of in the security industry the last 10 years, mainly on the AI kind of computer vision side. So everything from facial recognition to weapon detection to now license plate recognition, vehicle identification. Really have a passion for emerging technologies, kind of being on that forefront of the industry. Obviously, AI is such a broad and kind of overused term in the industry, but when it comes to this kind of technology, when it comes to the challenge sets that we see, especially today in the market, a lot of the AI technologies in the market can be on the forefront, proactive end to help mitigating and hopefully, solving some of these issues. So that's really where my passion came in. And, when I got in the industry, it was really from my father. My dad's been in the industry for 20 something years, mainly on the access control side. So he first kind of introduced me to what this industry has to offer. And, since then I've been kind of taking my own path. And, Ryan alluded to it earlier. I do host my own podcast called Security VIP, where I sit down with end users in the industry, and I get to hear their feedback versus a manufacturer and an integrator kind of forcing a sales pitch down their throat. I just want to hear from their perspective on what are they seeing, what challenges are they looking to solve. So, yeah, man, it's been a journey, I would say, these last 10 years, and kind of to see where the industry's heading. Obviously exciting to talk about it.
Now I see why Ryan got us together, because I am a loudmouth. I am in a position. I'm actually a part of this thing called the National Real-Time Crime Center Association. I'm their communications director. And part of the reason that probably is because I yell at all these companies. I'm like, you're focusing on, like, okay, this is cool. You're focusing on the right stuff. I'll stay positive. But then sometimes they're focused on stuff like me as an end user. I'm like, we don't give a shit about that stuff. Like, it's not helping in the ways we need it. It does help, whatever, but it's not where I need the focus, So now I see I see why he connected us. It makes a lot more sense now. Yeah, and if anybody's listening, the National Real-Time Crime Center Association is a new thing that we're trying to create best practices across the nation as far as having a real-time crime center. And some of the stuff that goes with that, LPRs. What else do we got? A lot of software companies that you'll hear about, Fusus, Motorola, and some of these other big names in the industry. They create this sort of the term they love to use, single pane of glass. They like to use a single pane of glass to help us as police officers use all these different softwares and work together. And this is one of the things I like about Ryan. We ain't got to Ryan yet, but Ryan's got that mindset that it doesn't matter what product it is that I'm out there trying to do. The goal is so everybody's works together. So we all have the same goal, which is very rare in the business mindset. And then when you're working with a government agency, like where I'm at, I'm not here for sales. I'm not here for, you trying to prove to me your stuff's the best. It may be the best, but if it doesn't work with everything else that I have going on, I don't need you. Because in police work, we need to work together. Other cities also need to work together. So the more that things cooperate together, the better. And that's why me and Ryan mesh so well, because we have that mindset, and I love that about you, Ryan. So okay, Ryan, same for you, brother. Where are you from? He is a military vet, just so you know, war hero from what I heard, but he's a humble guy. He's not gonna brag about it, so I'm gonna chime it out there for everybody. What's up, man?
What's up? I appreciate the opportunity. Taylor, thank you for coming on. Not my show, but I definitely a topic very passionate about, as are you, as I've seen through the podcast. So one of how I got here, I'm from the city of Memphis, and Memphis post Katrina had a large influx of people coming to the city, desperate people. Crime rates went up, poverty rates were high. This is back in 2006, and the leaders in the city of Memphis put together an executive committee at the police department there at the time that went out to the major cities, your New York NYPD's JTTF, LA County's Fusion Center, and really took a look at what the major cities were doing to try and impact crime, because the violent crime rates in the city of Memphis were right there parallel, not per capita, but right there in the same range as New York and LA, that statistically, population density-wise, should have been just about near impossible. So with that, they hired a doctor of criminology. It's a world-renowned professor of criminology, Dr. Richard Janikowski. He actually just recently passed. Rest in peace to him. But he created the Blue Crush, which was crime reduction utilizing statistical history. And it was one of the early intelligence-led policing models. And I was smack dab in Memphis in the Mid-South, large-size agencies without naming customer names. You had Metro Nashville to the east, you had Memphis, and you had Little Rock to the west. And outside of that, your large budgets weren't really there. So the Fed came in and dropped $60 million. Memphis started playing with a lot of different technologies, license plate readers, gunshot detection, video wall, and built out the MPD Real-Time Crime Center. And it was very early education at a lot of the different technologies and how they went to solve problems. And watching some of the reduction rates post-implementation of some of these programs, specifically the LPR side, and the amount of alerts. And I challenge you, go into any crime center anywhere in the country, and I'm betting that license plate readers are probably one of the most important tool, if not the most important tool, that most of your RTCC administrators are going to reference. And where that industry's gone in a 10-year period, when I started, it was $26,000. We were buying a pan tilt zoom or pan tilt system, putting on top of a squad car so they could move the camera left and right. So we didn't have to buy two cameras because it would have been $50,000 a car. So, I mean, to see where that's come with you taking standard IP cameras, Rekor was one of the first, and props to you for it. You're licensing the Scout license, being able to use IP cameras to read license plates with very high degrees of accuracy, pull out make, model, color, all the different aspects that make data useful and searchable and actually drive alerts to these law enforcement officers so they can actively interdict the crime and not just being reactionary. So technology really, in my opinion, changes law enforcement's capabilities from a reactive to a proactive approach. and that's huge.
I agree. So now it's kind of an odd. You were military, and you got out. What was your years of service?
06 to 09, and I left a little bit earlier than I would have liked on a fixed wing jump that went bad. So I got out of that a little bit early, and I was a computer gamer growing up, so could talk tech a little bit, could talk military a little bit, and a little bit of luck, right place, right time, right? Think of the time frame. So the technology, we were going from edge network to 3G. So we were able to take edge-based processing and push the alerts through to a head-in for the first time without needing coax, without needing copper line to the edge. And that's really where was the genesis for this whole industry. It was really a change to that IP revolution, away from the traditional, just cable puller, CCTV installs, into really edge-based intelligent systems, and some of the analytics those can generate, like with what Rekor is doing with the roadway, the intelligent roadway, what we're doing on the criminal side across the country. I mean, there's all different applications, but you're really seeing technology begin to affect each different industry and really make an impact in what we can do with it.
Okay. What was your MOS?
11 Bravo.
Okay. Explain that to the civilians out there who don't know what 11 Bravo is.
Infantry. So definitely far removed from the tech world than where we sit today.
Right. So the reason I'm bringing that up, there's a purpose behind it. You've got a gamer nerd, you got that passion there, and then you've got a guy who understands the proper ways to run a security detail, so to speak, offensively and defensively. So I wanted to get that mindset out there so that people understand the mesh and why it's not a monetary driven thing. It's a passion driven thing, because that's something that you follow. I mean, you signed the dotted line. And it's kind of cool to hear Taylor say the same thing, because Taylor, his father, was in the industry. And two, what was your position in football?
Yeah, I was a defensive end.
Right. A very strategic mindset. So I'm trying to connect the whys of the path that you guys took. I think that's an important thing anytime we start to try to get buy-in from what somebody's saying, because it doesn't matter what you hear me say. It could be bullshit coming out of my mouth unless you know the why of why I do things. People know why I do this podcast. And so I want to get your guys' why out there and make it a little more clear. So Taylor, family, motivated, obviously passion for football. Uh-oh, did we freeze up? No, there it goes. Passion for football, and then the mindset behind it. I mean, defense is one of the most thinking man's games in football. With the quarterback, obviously, but I think of Ray Lewis. I was one of the smartest players I ever remember watching, and just obviously devastating when he hit people. So it was cool to see that stuff. And then Ryan with you. So Taylor, I want to get a little more into Wrecker Systems. I'm sorry, am I saying that right?
Rekor.
You're right. I read it and I was like, Rekor.
Everyone says Wrecker, man. You're good.
Okay, Rekor Systems. Let's get behind what specifically it is that they're specializing in, where they're, what they're putting out there today that the citizens should be able to recognize, or at least maybe you can educate on what they have coming down the pipe to help them.
It's funny. I use this saying a lot, and I think when you look at former Division I athletes, they naturally fall into like a entrepreneur role, or it's a sales driven role. And we had this saying at Oklahoma State. Obviously I played for Mike Gundy, but on the D line we had this saying: just do your job, stay in your lane. If everyone just stays in their lane, does your job, then everyone else will be successful. And being the defensive end, it comes down to really just three responsibilities, man. It's like, go sack the quarterback, set the edge, make sure no one gets outside the boundary, or occasionally drop in the flat and maybe cover a hot route by the tight end. But those are really the only three responsibilities that really a DN has. If you look at guys like Von Miller and J.J. Watt in the NFL, and how that kind of correlates with me and my why and my passion in the industry, it comes down to just being transparent and accountable in my actions. And so when I talk to end users in the industry, all they want is honesty. They just want no bullshit. What the hell does your product do? Where does it fuck up? What's the flaws of it? Where's the weak points? And if I've learned through my 10 years that I've been selling AI technology and computer vision technology, and I understand where those flaws are. And so I'm immediately forefront in those conversations. Say, hey, look, we're strong in these areas of our business, but I'll be completely honest. This point of this, it might not work well on this camera, just because we're not used to that camera, it's not used to this field of view, etc. So I think when you look at Rekor and kind of what we specialize in, Ryan alluded to it, roadway intelligence, but being on the edge. So it is a AI kind of computer vision analytic, but it's being able to take existing infrastructure and then provide valuable insights on the roadways. Everything from license plate recognition to make, model, color, type, vehicle identification to wrong way of travel to even marketing insights for an enterprise customer. So just being able to tell people, how many vehicles are coming into your store, how long are they staying there, um, what's the financial aspect of those vehicles coming into your store. So it's really multiple different departments, but it's all underneath that roadway intelligence umbrella in the AI kind of computer vision realm that we fall into. And it's really kind of catering our message to our customers, saying, hey, look, if you work for security surveillance or asset protection, ORC, organized retail crime, we have a solution for you for LPR vehicle recognition. This is literally our bread and butter, what we do. And then if you're a customer experience, player development, marketing personnel, we've got some marketing insights that give you an ROI on what kind of traffic and demographic is coming into your store. So it really makes just making sure that you understand those swim lanes about what our product can do for XYZ person versus a different department. And I've been transparent in those kind of actions in my conversations. And then when you look at LPR technology in a whole, like Ryan said in the old days, man, it was costly, hardware centric, and I think we still face those struggles today. If you look at companies, they want you to buy their hardware. They're forcing you to buy their camera. You have to buy their camera because it won't work with any other camera. And it kind of locks you into hardware, but it also locks you in functionality. So a lot of companies in the industry, it's like a game camera almost. It's just a snapshot.
Yeah.
So there's value in that aspect for sure, 100% for law enforcement and PD. But I'm not going to speak for you, Eric, but as a law enforcement agency, if I had the capability to use existing infrastructure, which is software, but also provide video and insights with the actual license plate recognition, just in case a tag is not shown on a vehicle. Maybe I just know it's a white Ford Focus. At least we're giving some additional insight off that actual vehicle versus your standard kind of LPR technology that's on the market. So, like Ryan said, it's all edge based technology. It's software driven, SaaS driven, subscription based model, and we've been able to unfortunately stop a lot of crime, especially around catalytic converter theft and shrinkage in retail stores and things that go on in casinos out in Vegas. So it's been a really fun journey to see our technology, prove the value. But it comes down to just being transparent, man, just holding ourselves accountable in those conversations.
Yeah, I want to elaborate for people on the outside, our citizens, that they're like, okay, I just heard a lot of stuff. I understand retail store, all that stuff, but the thing I want to focus on primarily is road safety and like our TxDOT in Texas, we have TxDOT cameras. That is existing infrastructure. So that's an example of what he's talking about. We've already got cameras up on these poles. So one of the cool things that we can do to help save citizens money and things like that is you have companies like this that come in and they're willing to cooperate. This is what I mean by cooperate. They're willing to bend to get the mission done. And bend, what I mean is in a business sense, instead of being proprietary, they're able to put their software into a camera that already exists, if that's what you want. Or they can also offer you maybe a better camera, something that you didn't know was out there yet, and you can get that put up. But the cool part for us as cops and for the citizens, the thing that I like is you mentioned wrong way drivers. That's a huge one. Traffic accidents are a huge killer of citizens every year. How would you love for your loved one to have an early warning system on those road signs you see out there? Wrong way driver, pull off or pull over, whatever you have. And at the same time, your real-time crime center gets a notification that there's a wrong way driver on the freeway, and they're already taking the steps that are necessary to help stop that, prevent an accident from happening. So that is one of the positive effects of that. I know there's always that big concern that, the big brother's out there watching. They're not watching. There's too many cameras, one. They're not just sitting there watching you, waiting for something like this AI to pick up and show like it's doing the work for you. Like it's only paying attention when it hits these certain parameters if something bad's about to happen. So that is one of the nice aspects of it. I don't know. You got anything to add on that, Ryan?
The software OCR, like the adding it to existing cameras, really did change the marketplace. And Taylor, you're absolutely correct. A lot of the manufacturers, the hardware cost has always been prohibitive, and really kept it from moving more into the commercial space. I mean, naming a manufacturer, I'm sure they won't mind on this one. Flock really changed and targeted that HOA and commercial space and really changed the industry. I mean, you saw every major manufacturer react, with the exception, Taylor. I mean, you guys have the software OCR, and that's your platform. Genetec, LSAG, each one of those reacted with their own solar camera. And props for what you did at Recore too, and what you guys are doing, because you stayed true to that software-based OCR. And there are absolutely limitations with the embedded hardware solar cameras. They have rolling shutters instead of burst shutters. You're anything over 65, you're going to get motion blur. And one of the greatest disservices to this industry, in my opinion, have been the placement of those cameras where they know they're not going to be effective, where you're going to get the 50-60% read rate. And maybe that law enforcement officer doesn't know any better, or the testing wasn't done, or maybe it's just an HOA that definitely doesn't know any better. And that's not taking shots at any one manufacturer. It's as good as the individual rep selling the technology. And Eric Dalton at the NRTCCA did a fantastic job for Flock at going through proper deployment. It was something that I walked to him after, and really, regardless if we compete or not, it's so critical to have that knowledge base of where the technology is impactful, what works in what environment. And Taylor, respect for you for saying, hey, this works in this environment, this doesn't work. And that level of honesty, absolutely, it's been instrumental for me in developing those relationships with our customer base, because we really cement ourselves as the SMEs in the space. We're in that sales guy that's going to sell you anything one time, maybe twice, but not a third.
Yeah. This is the beauty of why I like this. Like this is the one, another aspect of community policing that doesn't get addressed nearly as much. There's me as a cop getting along with, Sally down the street. She's complaining somebody keeps parking their car in front of her house. Like, that is one aspect of community policing. The other side that I think doesn't get mentioned, and it's incredibly important, is having relationships with your business owners and your businesses. And that's what you guys are. This is why you guys are so different. You're not. Yes, money is obviously always a driving factor, but it's not the factor. The factor is your why you're doing what you're doing, and you're willing to put money aside to do the right thing, and that is the collaborating, the listening to police, the listening to citizens, the listening to other businesses that you're going to be selling to, and bending instead of just trying to, be the top dog and be proprietary and all that stuff. Well, we got the superior product in flexing. And you're mentioning companies like Flock, like one of my sponsors, Insight, another company that does the same, very good at doing that stuff. And I think it's pivotal to keep bridging these gaps, that metaphor, bridging the gaps between the community and the people we serve, because ultimately this is what you guys do. You serve. It is a business, but you serve. You're serving the people that you're doing this for, and it's for the better. It's for the good.
That's a great point, Eric, and I hate talking about myself, but like with my own company, my Security VIP podcast, I put together like an advisory board, and it's just a board of end users, and these end users range from PDs to Secret Service to government to education to retail to casinos to healthcare. So it's a multitude of different industries, and they're all learning from each other because everyone has a similar challenge, maybe just in a different market. So they're actually communicating, say, hey, what's working, what's not, and it's not, and they understand I work for a manufacturer by all means, but I'm not over there trying to like shove Recore down their throat. I'm just genuinely interested in say, hey, dude, like if there's a certain challenge, I'm going to recommend a different company that might cater better towards their challenge. But it's interesting to me to hear different perspectives on different industries in that kind of community that I've created on my board, because I think they see a lot of value from other end users that are in the similar position. Everything from technology to how they get things approved with budget and pricing to obviously gaps and hiring fills they need to make. How are they hiring in the everything you can think of? It's great. So that's kind of really the why behind of why I talk about the evolution of the industry. Because again, to your point, and I think Ryan knows this too, is it's all about a snake oil sales pitch, man. At the end of the day, people just want to shove product. They want to shove it 1-2 times, like Ryan said, and then never talk to you again. They're on to the next deal instead of creating that true relationship and friendship versus a business relationship partnership. So
I agree. Yeah, that's man, it's huge. And I'm hoping it's funny because I set this out to educate the public. That was kind of what my initial goal starting this thing 2 years ago was. I find that I educate cops way more. Like I'll get a lot of feedback from cops like, dude, I never thought of that, or I never thought of this. You had this guest on. I never considered that. So for me, it's a very awesome byproduct of what I kind of set out to do. And then it's going to be the same with this episode. Like I think more cops are going to get more out of this than the citizens themselves. Cause I think the citizens are the ones that are going to understand like, okay, I get this. As soon as we talk about the other part, Big Brother. Okay. So, let's get into that part. And if you're listening, this is going to be one of my shorter podcasts ever. We got time constraints, but we're going to get the meat and potatoes in there. People's concerns are always going to be, what are you looking at? What is this AI looking into? Where's this stuff stored? How long is it going to be stored? Obviously, I'm hoping the police, when you guys are selling to police departments and things like that, I hope they're asking these questions as well. But if you were to go to a town hall meeting with me, and I'm operating as my PD, and we're considering you guys to come in, and whether it's your company or whoever, but I'm having you come in, what are you telling the citizens to put their mind at ease about violations of their rights?
We'll take first.
He pointed
right at
Taylor.
I'll do it. I got this one if you want it.
He's like,
I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet. So a guy on my board named Mike Matranga, he's former U.S. Secret Service. He pretty much led school safety for Texas City down there by Houston and made it nationally known. And he put all new technology in there, and it pissed off a lot of people because he put in face rec and Big Brother kind of technology. But Texas City became one of the safest school districts in the U.S. because of those technologies. So Mike Matranga, I'm going to quote him. What he always says when it comes to this question, he said, "Hey, you have no constitutional right to privacy in a public setting. So if I go to a Walmart, a retail store, a casino, there's cameras watching you, recording you 24/7, whether you like it or not. Now, whether or not you're on a watch list or a BOLA list, that's completely self-inflicted, right? That's something that you did to be on that list, to be watched and monitored. So obviously, people need to get this kind of concept in mind when it comes to AI, that AI is just a computer being trained to look for a certain object. So when it comes to faces, yes, it's looking for faces, but it's only going to look for faces on what it's trained upon and if it's on a watch list. Same thing applies for vehicles and license plates. Same thing applies for weapons. Same thing applies for people. But people need to kind of get this rationality in mind that saying, hey, if you're in a public setting, which obviously law enforcement and PDs and counties fall into, you're going to be monitored and recorded whether you like it or not. So that's kind of my short little spiel to the whole Big Brother concept around privacy. And obviously there's things like GDPR and PII, and we get really granular with the metadata. But from an overall kind of concept, my hope is that people will understand that anytime there is public technology, or there's technology in a public setting, like, you have to understand you don't have privacy in that kind of environment.
Okay. What you got, Ryan?
So, I mean, once we get past the standard, you've got the policy in place, you've got your officers trained, the SOPs are there for verification so that there's not a mistake in the alerts from the technology. One of the common ones with LPR, right? Right state or right detection, wrong plate. So just going through those levels of verification and really hammering those to make sure there's continued education. In the police world, deputies, officers rotate constantly. You've got new people in and out into different roles. So having kind of and making sure you re-engage that training on regular basis so that your users of the technology are operating it properly is critical. Once you get past that, one of the things that I hate the most about the LPR industry is how partisan of an issue it is. And I'll cite example, the statewide project in Illinois that we're working with right now. Every Democrat in the state voted yes. There was a large Republican holdout against it for privacy concerns. Other side, and that was one of the few Republican groups I've had kind of sit on the opposite side of LPR technology. In Florida, I've got a couple that sit on the right side that are privacy concerns, and I've got some that sit on the left side that are Big Brother concerns. So there's always the comment and the question for abuse, and I always try and put back, and I just recently doing an IPVM on the national watch list for Flock and Recore one, right? Or Flock and Motorola, that the potential for abuse exists with any technology. The potential is going to exist. We hold our first responders to a higher standard, and I truly believe that the additional jail time they face and their entire careers, their pension, probably isn't worth it for them to be searching where you were at 2:00 yesterday, right? Like, they're out there looking for the criminals, looking for the violent wanted felons that you don't want in your communities. You don't want stolen cars coming in your neighborhood at 2 a.m, because over 80% of the time, those stolen vehicles or stolen license plates are used in the commission of another crime. So there's that commonality of thinking red light camera, revenue generation, and that's really not what the LPR industry is. It is a crime fighting tool, and as long as the agencies have the training and the policy in place, I strongly disagree with privacy concerns. And as Taylor said, it's a public roadway. It's the government's tag. You're renting it, and there is no expectation of privacy on a public roadway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's like, what's the alternative, Eric, to that? Like, say we don't put LPR technology or any kind of technology for that standpoint. Do we allow these issues to continue to happen? It's like, what's the next solution to combat this challenge? So I think people have to have that understanding in place that, like, look, this is only meant to help. And obviously, there's certain situations where it's abused, but just like Ryan said, it comes down to education and training and auditing who is using it and how they're using it and what it's being used for. But it comes down to just educating kind of the market. And I think that's where the disconnect is when you talk about politicians getting involved in kind of these security surveillance decisions. And again, going by,
if you're law enforcement, stop and listen to me right now. If you're a police department that does not have an LPR system, Insight is offering the first 10 agencies, that means one agency apiece, gets one camera for free. You have to tell them that 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you. You heard me right. If you're a police agency that does not have an LPR system yet, or does have an LPR system, and you're not happy with the product you have, Insight is offering you a free camera, no strings attached, and they will install it. I have 10 to give out. Tell them 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you, or reach out to me and I will get you in contact. If you're a business owner or an HOA, please stop and listen to me right now. If you're just listening to the audio, do yourself a favor and watch the YouTube version of this episode to get a visual of what I'm about to tell you. I want to tell you guys about Insight LPR. It's a license plate reader. If your agency, community, or business is looking to invest in LPR to help solve and deter crime or to make your community safer, Insight LPR has my vote of confidence. I've met with their team. They know their LPRs, guys. They're the real deal. They bring over 75 years of collective experience to building LPR cameras and the software that supports communities across the country. The other thing I really like about this team is how much they listen to law enforcement. They understand the importance of working together with law enforcement and getting their input as they build and innovate products and their service to match the needs of law enforcement. In other words, when I complain or have suggestions to make their damn camera better, they actually do it. The Insight LPR team is extremely passionate and takes pride in their product development, which makes their cameras some of the most durable cameras in the market. For the gear nerds out there, what that means is this stuff's made of military grade aluminum and is nitrogen purged, whatever that means. This design makes the cameras rugged and able to withstand harsh weather elements. Here's the big selling point for me. Their nighttime scan accuracy is higher than most of the leading competitors. In my opinion, this is what sets them apart. As we know, the majority of crimes occur at night, so it's critical to have high scan accuracy at night. Insight's cameras check the box with the nighttime plate read accuracy greater than 96%. 96%, guys. That's pretty freaking high. If your community is looking to invest in LPR technology, reach out to one of their experts today, or reach out to me. Tell them 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you.
back to my earlier point, if people would just stay in their lane and focus on what they can control, then we would probably have a easier process and transition to kind of get this technology more massively adopted.
I can say me as a cop, it's made me a rock star. I mean, honestly, my solve rates on as a detective alone are just astronomical compared to what they would have been without it. And I was there for the transition. I was there being a detective without it to being a detective with it. I was out there being a patrol officer without it to having it. So I personally can speak for how much it's helped in a major city to lower crime. And even if we didn't lower crime, I'm helping more victims. I'm getting your stuff back. I'm catching the bad guy that assaulted you. I'm gonna give you some peace of mind, some justice. We just got a stolen trailer back yesterday. It was to give you how cool people out there, how cool LPR is. This trailer was stolen 2 days ago. It finally hit one of our LPRs. We caught the trailer as it was being sold. So not only did we catch the bad guys, we helped save a victim $5,000. He had $5,000 cash that he gave to these guys. We caught all of it because we were able to backtrack and follow. We saw where the trailer went from the bad guys and where it came out of a neighborhood when it got sold to the innocent victims. Sorry for the innocent victims. They did get a felony stop done on them because we didn't know. We just saw the stolen trailer. We knew it was stolen. But that is how cool. And that's how, when we're talking real time, I'm talking real fucking time. So for me, it's those success stories where I just got you that $5,000, because that $5,000 would have been in the wind had we not gotten it when we got it. And that's where the technology has gotten to, and is getting better, which is insane to me. Where it can pick up, it's starting to be able to, you talk about the AI part, it's starting to be able to pick up stickers and weird discrepancies in vehicles. You see a million red sedans out there and it's running through these things, but as soon as you mention that it's got a spare tire in the front right, that's where this technology is going. So a very cool part to see that. For people out there, you brought up auditing, and this is where I want to kind of put citizens' minds at ease. Your department, you should hold them accountable. But businesses like y'all, this is part of their sales pitch. When they go talk to other agencies, they're like, these are the things they mention to get that thought process going. Because sometimes as a cop, you don't even think about it. All you're doing is thinking how the technology can help. You're not thinking about how it can be abused. And one of the ways it can be abused is by using it for personal gain or personal reasons and stuff like that. That's where the audit sheet comes in. So if me, Eric Levine, logs on to the system and I'm like, where's my wife at right now? Boom, 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 boom. And then, I start tracking her license plate. That's going to flag. That's going to be on there because one of the checks and balances should be, if you're going to put stuff in, it should be related to a case number. And so you better be able to back that stuff up. So these are all these checks and balances. So if you're wondering how cops are going out there and being put in place, which I'm fully about, and I feel like that's my duty as a cop. Ryan, you took the same oath when you swore to protect the nation. Put your right hand up, and swore that oath. I did the same thing. So my job is to check my own business, my police department, and make sure we don't overstep on people's rights. And knowing that I have that audit system and that it's there and it's checked and it's worked, it's awesome. So that's why I'm such a big fan of this stuff, because we set the path up the right way. And Taylor, your podcast, you are also, whether you know it or not, I'm sure you do know it, you are also keeping departments not only in check, but you're helping them improve. You're helping them use this technology to its full potential. And something for Ryan, maybe you don't know, there's no manual for us as cops out there yet on how to use this stuff. That's one of my biggest frustrations. That's why I'm glad the National Real-Time Crime Center came out, because I've got all these tools that I've developed over the last 3 years as being a detective and figuring out how to work a case with all this technology, that I had to start from scratch. If I could save a detective that time, Taylor's podcast, to see what these guys are saying and how they're using this stuff, like, that's what I'm talking about. We're bridging shit, man. I like that we're helping everybody across the board. We're helping the businesses, we're helping everybody, and we're helping everything improve. So, sorry, I get on a soapbox sometimes. I get excited about that stuff.
No, you're right, man. I mean, it's funny how many people we've caught with our audit trail looking at ex-girlfriends and ex-boyfriends, and these are, some of these people are 18, 19-year-old kids, especially with some of our casino customers when they're watching screens and it's late, 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning. Casinos run 24/7, of course, and there they are searching an ex-boyfriend when they come visit their vehicle, and then sure enough, you see it on the audit trail. Hey, why are you looking at 123 ABC license plate 500 times, you know?
Yeah.
And so it comes back to holding people accountable, man, and just making sure we're educating in that process. So.
Yeah. And it's cool. Again, this is why I try to surround myself with people with this style of mindset. Is we're in the business of the why we're doing what we're doing. We stay focused on that, and not the what, the end game and all that. So just you guys doing the education part is huge. How much time you got, Ryan? We're getting close.
We're good.
You're good? Okay. So the future. I want to get into the future. I know what we have currently available. We kind of touched on it. These LPRs, what they do basically is sit on a pole for people listening, and they run your license plates. They can see your license plates. Now they have limitations. Nighttime, sometimes the reflection of people's license plate, they have failures, and it's up to us as cops to make sure we're doing our due diligence when a plate hits. And this is an announcement for all you cops out there. Just because your LPR says you've got a positive stolen plate that just went by does not mean that it's currently stolen. You need to double check that with your NCIC, for us, TCIC as well. That's just a recommended word of advice, because you're going to pull somebody out of a vehicle at gunpoint and they didn't deserve it because the car was recovered or whatever. But anyway, that's what these license plate readers do. So they're just set up at intersections, public places, just like Taylor was talking about. If you've got the right to record there, so does the police, so does the TxDOT, your road safety people, all this stuff. So I'm with you on that mindset. It's a public place. And that's how we should keep it. We shouldn't be looking into people's houses. We shouldn't be reading your text messages, stuff like that, without a warrant. But they do have the technology to do that. Just so you know, these cameras can zoom the hell in and read your text messages. I have used them on dope houses that we've had warrants for, so it's very cool technology. But currently they do have their limitations. One of the things being, I was talking about, we put a red sedan in there. Let's say it's got a Star Wars sticker in the back. I like Star Wars, obviously. So I don't know of any technology out there yet. I don't have it that I can type in Star Wars sticker back right window or sticker back right window. But from my understanding, that's where it's leading to. So what is the future? Ryan, what have you guys got going on? And Taylor, you tell me what you guys got going on.
Taylor and them are already crushing with computer vision. You've seen a lot of the different companies coming out doing searches for the stickers, the bumper stickers, and that's computer vision, the core of it. And there's already a lot of the major manufacturers, Taylor being at the top of the list, doing an incredible job at that. For me, my goal is pivoted more to the data side rather than living on the edge as far as what sensor is doing the generation, connecting those data sets. So, for instance, in Illinois, they've had an 88% reduction in homicides on the interstates, 45% reduction in overall crime in the year-long pilot. We've had 300 cameras up on the interstates. Well, now Chicago PD and Illinois State Police are beginning to share data. And you're still seeing massive silos from manufacturer to manufacturer due to either the way the APIs are created or just the proprietary nature and the commercial benefit of keeping those in the environment. And I'm at the top of the list of people that have profited from that. But as the industry evolves and changes and really the tech becomes more affordable and more people jump into the space, which should be applauded and rewarded, connecting those data sets and ensuring that there is visibility. So my Finder company was created after 9/11. Muhammad Atta was pulled over down in South Florida with an active warrant. And the officer that pulled him over never knew he had an active warrant. So trying to close gaps from the informational side, Taylor used ROI earlier. Now with what I'm doing, we're able to drill down to the RMS records. What is that canine going to do at 3 a.m? He's going to enter ABC 123 for that vehicle he just pulled over. I can correlate that back to the individual LPR alert to really start driving ROI, because what I realized were these small agencies that didn't have the staffing, didn't have 24/7 personnel, and didn't have the ability to change what action every officer was taking at the edge. We could drill into RMS, we could drill into LPR alerts and start coupling those data sets to be able to identify this many LPR alerts led to this many arrests.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
speaking of that's a great point that Ron brings up. Speaking of ROI, so return on investment, right? That's what the terminology stands for. What not again, not to plug in Recor, but a great client of ours is Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma. It's the UVID program. So what they've created in Oklahoma, and since I played college ball at Oklahoma State, I had no idea. But apparently, the issue in Oklahoma is they have a huge issue with uninsured drivers on the road. So just people drive without insurance in the state, and in the state, it's a law. You have to have insurance on your vehicle. So what's cool about the ROI story around the technology we're providing for the state is every time that we recognize a vehicle that does not have insurance on their vehicle, Oklahoma sends that driver a 30-day notice and says, "Hey, you've got 30 days to get insurance on your vehicle." Now, mind you, they have our software connected to the DMV list, so they've got access to people's vehicles who do not have insurance. Well, let's say those 30 days go by, we recognize the same vehicle on the road. Oklahoma now sends that driver a $300 ticket in the mail. And you should see how many vehicles that we recognize driving throughout the state of Oklahoma. We're talking about thousands of vehicles a day without insurance.
Yeah.
And if those are second time offenders, $300 times a couple thousand vehicles, I mean, Oklahoma's making a lot of money just on one simple use case when we talk about ROI use cases with LPR technology.
Yeah, and that's for if you're out there and you're like, oh, it's a revenue gainer. We're not talking like stoplight tickets, stuff like that. We're talking about these are the people that do hit and runs. These are the
Yep.
people that you get in an accident with. They flee the scene, and you're SOL. So if I gotta have insurance, they should have insurance. I think that's fair, and they're not giving a ticket on the first offense. They're just warning you, hey, you didn't have insurance. I'm curious to know what their rule is. If you get the warning, you go get insurance, and then you lapse again. Just curious what the rule is on that.
Yeah, it's Oklahoma UVID, so UVED. You can look it up online about their actual program. But I do know this that we've been able to reduce a third of uninsured drivers on the road since we deployed the technology, which is great because obviously people that have insurance on their vehicles means safer roadways in the state. But I think from an advancement standpoint and kind of where the industry is heading around this technology, at least from the Recor perspective, is we want to be the true leaders in roadway intelligence, and that means vehicle classifications. That means wrong way of travel. That means telling you where to exit on the interstate because it's congested, where accidents are. Smoke and fog is a big issue right now. They want, with people concerns around that as far as pollution, understanding electrical vehicles versus gas vehicles versus diesel vehicles. So again, really just kind of understanding what is going and happening on the roadways, and it's all coming from an edge-based kind of AI mindset around our technology. So that's where the advancements of Recor specifically is heading. And then I guess the industry as a whole, it's going to be more around the same kind of concept around computer vision and edge-based systems around weapon detection and kind of enhancing that because active shooters are hot right now still in the industry, and unfortunately those black swan events are happening more frequently than necessary. So obviously there's a huge demand for a weapon detection kind of solution, whether that's a metal detector or that's a body on the ground or that's an AI technology looking for guns. There's a whole multitude of solutions. I would just caution anyone looking for a solution that they need to view it from two standpoints. One, obviously, be from the forefront, like a proactive standpoint, not like a reactive standpoint, like Ryan alluded to, because gunshot's useful, but it's reactive because the gun has to be fired, right? So look for a proactive solution, but then also do your gut wrench, battle test, bulletproof questioning to that manufacturer and ask them straight up, where do you suck as a product? Ask them that question.
Yeah.
What are your ask them? I'm serious. I tell
Yeah.
all my customers that. Like,
I do it all the
go to
time.
any vendor. Where do you
If they
suck?
can't answer, something's wrong.
Yeah, they won't. They'll tell you. They'll promise you the world and give you $1 million. Whatever they're gonna pull out their ass. So that's the thing I always tell my end users. Hey, ask them where they suck because it's gonna blow them off. They're gonna be like, oh, I've never heard that question before. So and they'll have to think on their feet. But those are the two things I tell my customers, and that goes for any kind of technology besides LPR.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I'll get into that in a second. But Ryan, I know you got to go. I'll keep talking to Taylor if he's down. But appreciate you being on, brother. One of these days we're gonna get our full episode of just you and me, so we can dive more just into Ryan, the cool dude, in his military service that he will never ever brag about. But I'll get it out of him. So, anything you want to close with, brother?
No, I definitely appreciate the time. Taylor, I know this was out of the blue for you, but I do very much appreciate the conversation and look forward to seeing you out on the field this year. And Eric, thanks for all the work you do for the citizens of the city you're in and what you're doing with the NRTCCA and your podcast as far as education for both law enforcement and public. So thank you both for your times and discussion. It's much appreciated.
Take it easy, brother.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thanks,
Ryan.
guys.
Appreciate
Yes,
that.
sir.
All right. So got rid of Ryan, got Taylor. So now that I know that you got a podcast, sir, and it is up my wheelhouse, I'm very excited about this. Do you have a website by chance?
Yeah, it's securityvipenterprises.com.
Security VIP Enterprise.
Enterprises, maybe S on there, .com.
Trying to see. We'll pull it up and we'll definitely give you some prices. Got that. Go. Come on. Google's not cooperating with me. Try this. www.securityvipenterprises.com. Type it in direct. There we go. All right. And I will do this. There we go. Now we got it up on the screen.
That's it.
Very cool. So if you're just listening, you want to check out more about the podcast and all that stuff, he's got the website right here. Security VIP Enterprises. If you're listening, I got it up on the screen. You'll have to check it out on YouTube. But you got your advisory board and all that stuff.
Yeah, we got about 12 people on the advisory board, just to range from different industries and verticals.
Okay.
You know, Mike Matranga, like I said, he's former Secret Service on that board and great guy to learn from. And then, you know, everything the podcast related that will be on the media tab on the
Gotcha.
website.
Where's the lady representation, man?
I actually just added 2 females, man. I know
Nice.
it's heavy male, man.
It's a male dominated career field.
Yeah.
So
I just added two females though. So
okay,
I need to
very
fix
cool.
that
Yeah, I
up.
just wanted to bust your balls. That's all. He easily could get me just as well. I ain't got no ladies on the podcast, so but I have female guests, so I make up for it.
There you go.
But
That's it.
all right. So let's dive into the podcast a little more. What are some of the things that you guys have figured out, like through that? Like, obviously they're getting on there and they're talking about the good, the bad, the ugly with the products. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, nothing but the truth is kind of the mantra of that podcast. It's just speaking transparency in the conversation. I think that a part of it is technology driven. You know, what's working, what's not. What BS is your sales rep telling you something different than what I'm hearing, kind of thing when it comes to certain manufacturers. Then it's also really interesting, man, is with these new technologies coming out, especially AI driven. There's a big conversation happening between what go to market strategy works best for an end user. And what I mean by that is typically in the physical security industries, a lot of manufacturers will go through a channel, like a partner or security integrator, to install their technology. And back in the old days, you know, I say old days, 20, 25 years ago, that's true. It's very hardware box kind of sell, physical running cable, camera systems, access control, etc. But when you see this new evolution of technology come out, the use of an integrator is almost negligent. You don't really need a use of an integrator. So a lot of end users now are having these conversations about, hey, can I just go direct to the manufacturer and deal directly with you, buy directly from you? There's no screw ups on price. I know exactly what I'm paying for. There's no additional markup. And can I install it myself? And most of the cases is yes, you can install the technology yourself because you don't need an integrator to do it for you and pay that additional 20 to 30% markup. And that really rubs integrators the wrong way because they either get on with that ship or they don't. But you know, I think that's a conversation we're having right now on our board is around, does it make sense to go through a channel? Can we go buy direct? Obviously with the technologies, and then other things are like hiring freezes and how COVID impacted, and then you know just kind of just understanding where we're. I'm sorry. The biggest one right now is politics. Actually, politics in schools, politics in legislation, and how that's affecting budgets and decision. That's a huge one right now that we're talking about on my podcast about some of these political or policies that are actually affecting places like Illinois, like Ryan alluded to earlier. Illinois has made some drastic changes for law enforcement out there, and it's just I can't imagine how you deal with crime when legislation is telling you that it's okay. You know,
Yeah.
so those are the kind of conversations we're having right now on the podcast.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Impact Tactical. Impact is a tactical outfitter for the men and women of our military, police, fire departments, and other public safety around the country. Impact's core beliefs is that fearless men and women protect our freedom and safety should have access to the best tactical performance apparel, equipment, and tools on the market. And they shouldn't have to go broke to get it. I've used Impact for about 11 years, and I can attest that they do live up to their core values. So you get a personal recommendation from me. You can find them at impacttactical.com. That's MPAK tactical.com. And be sure to tell them that 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you. We've been discussing and talking at my department. One of the things that we do when you talk about going directly to the manufacturer and stuff like that, we're making our own, I don't know what you call them, modem boxes or,
Yep.
We make our own in-house. What would normally cost, I don't know, 5 to 10 grand, let's say. I'm just making that number up. I know it's only costing us like 2,300 or 1,800 or something like that because we make it ourselves. And now with the availability of 3D printing, we're creating boxes. We're talking about creating boxes. We got it from another agency, because we talk, and they're creating their own boxes, which also cuts the cost way down. And then it goes into, well, what all can we 3D print? You start talking about that. Like, how is that going to affect the industry? So, and instead of selling a product, now you're going to be selling the blueprints that will print it out for you. Hey, we made this blueprint for you. There it is. You just need the material. So that's kind of one of the things I see. Is that something that y'all have been talking about?
As far as like 3D printing and not necessarily with I guess with Recore particular, but with my guys on my board, they've mentioned that a little bit, especially around I don't know if you're familiar with like LiDAR technology.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that?
Yep.
So they've been talking about that as well. But I mean, you have a great point because it's like some of these integrators in the industry, they're actually jumping ship now to like a manufacturer, or they're jumping ship to an end user because they understand that the transitioning and kind of the self-sufficiency of things going forward is going to be strictly done on, or you can do it yourself. Like
Yep.
you can run cable, everything's on YouTube, you can teach yourself on YouTube. But again, just like to your point, 3D printing is now available, and why do I have to pay extra for that when I can do it myself?
Yeah. And it's if people are going to get involved with government agencies, we're a product for the people. We're supposed to be. So if we're going to be a product for the people, it's all about cutting cost. If I can cut a bunch of cost, one, that helps me as a cop. Maybe I'll get paid better. So just knowing that. But two, if we can provide all these products and we can do it ourselves and cut out a major part of why we're limited already. I mean, we've got a shit ton of cameras in my city, but we don't have nearly enough. It's a major city. And we got a lot of like really bad areas. And if we can help clean that stuff up, the hope is it's not a reoccurring cost. It's something that we can use to the point we don't need it. And that would be amazing. Or use to the point where, it's done its job and now we can move those to a new location, maybe that sprung up and become a new hotspot. So the ability to have these cameras be mobile and the ability to create pieces and do the work ourselves is always going to be something that we're interested in as cops, just so you know for your side of the house.
Yeah, no, and that's great because I think the issue with law enforcement, and it applies to security surveillance and asset protection teams and ORC teams, is they view those departments as non-revenue generating departments.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing that gets cuts off the list when it comes to new technology? It's always either a security surveillance budget, or you guys present something that you guys need to prove, then typically you don't get the right funding for it, or it's limited, or it's cut off in general. So something that we help educate, or at least the board educates, is involving your other departments, and that what that means. Especially for like retailers and enterprise customers, is involving marketing customers and marketing departments because they've got deeper pockets, but then showing them some insights and a product that actually can work in tandem and work well for them, but also work well for security surveillance. So I think that's my kind of education with PDs and LAAs is if there is value with another department in your agency, that obviously has more money than what you apply for, get them involved in those conversations
Hmm.
because if you can work in tandem, it helps fund what you need, but also gets them what their need. And then those budget discussions will be a lot easier, I think, when it comes to what you want at the end of the day.
So let me share a vision with you. Okay, this is my vision of the future of policing, and this is kind of how I've guided my career. I've actually kind of flipped my career mindset. I was going to be more of the community oriented policing, which I think I can do in any position I'm in. So let me just put it that way. I'm not a SWAT guy. I'm not that, I do like to go out and catch bad guys and whatnot, but I'm not tactical or anything like that. But now in the last 5 years, my mindset has changed. I am an intelligence based policing person. Um, and so here is my ultimate vision. One, my department is trying to become the first, I think it's called a Region 5 real time crime center, to go into what you're talking about. Getting other agencies to collaborate with you, the ones that don't have the money or the ones that are just, much smaller than you, but surround you, your sister agencies. You get them together and they give you a body. They might not be able to give me the money, but they can give me a person. So now when something goes on in their city and I'm watching from my real-time crime center because we got cameras set up everywhere and it goes into their city, now I got a local expert that can jump on and he's there and he's helping his people, but he's also helping my people. And that is how we improve police work, because for so long we've been these little silos, these nodal governances that we have not been able to figure out how to break that next barrier for police work. Well, with intelligent led policing, and that's what I believe real time crime center stuff is, it's intelligent led policing. And to give an example of the way policing used to be versus how we're using this technology now, and I'll elaborate further on my vision. It used to be, hey, there was a bunch of shootings in this area. We need you guys to go saturate that area and knock down everything that moves. And what did that mean for the citizens? It didn't matter if you were, Miss Betty from the block, the local church leader, or you were a local thug gang member. Anybody that moved after a certain amount of time, they were getting pulled over. They were being involved with the cops some way, somehow. And that pisses off a lot of innocent people. But it also lowers crime for a short time in that area. It worked. But it's the, everything's a nail approach when you're the hammer. That's not beneficial to citizens. It worked for its time, but technology has gotten us to the point where we can change that. So here's my future vision. You take your guys' technology and we give that technology a team. And it's a two-front team. You're going to have your real-time crime center who's monitoring all of this stuff that you guys have available. And then they've got a field team. And what that field team becomes is a scalpel. Now, let's say that same area that I talked about, we had a bunch of shootings. And we use intelligent-based policing there. Now we're watching. We have undercover cars in the area. Anybody that is a person of interest or whatever, we follow off. We don't get them right there. We wait till they're out of the area. We got to be patient, but we wait till they're out of the area, separate. Now the risks, the safety factors have all narrowed. The safety factors have gone down tremendously. People like to run in cars or do whatever, do dumb shit when they get cornered in their own area. The moment you get them out of their area, out of their comfort zone, the safety factors significantly go up. We are much safer this way. Citizens are safer. The bad guys safer, and I think that's important. I don't want to shoot nobody. And the cops are safer. So that is the future of policing to me. It's that 3-tiered system. You do the intelligent-based system with real-time crime center behind your technology with a field team. And now we're in the communities. You got to educate the community on this, and that's what we're doing right now. But they know that when somebody gets snagged up and they see that, that's because that person had it. We know who we were looking for. We're not just throwing a net out there anymore and trying to catch. We're spearfishing, and that's what we're doing. So that's the future, how I see things. And I hope you have these conversations now on your podcast.
Yeah, no, 100%, dude. It's great because Mike Matranga brings up a lot. I talk about him a lot because he's like, Taylor, planning's free. There's no cost for that. As long as you have a plan in place, you're good. And he talks about EOPs a lot, emergency operating procedures and SOPs, standard operating procedures, like having something in place from a holistic approach. Because again, no single solution is going to solve all your headaches, but if you have a holistic plan, that combines proactive and reactive and layers of a layered approach, then you are going to be in a safer environment. And you're 100% correct. I see that vision. I love that vision because it's unfortunate that we see situations like a Columbine or a Santa Fe ISD who talking about Santa Fe ISD, that's a 5 school district, man. And no one thought in hell that a mass shooting would occur at a 5 school district when you've got, just a handful of cops and SROs, school resource officers. And it wasn't like they didn't have SROs at that school. It was just a case of a kid snuck in with a rifle at the wrong time and did what he did. Um, but you have a conversation with the chief down there. He's like, Taylor, like, I don't know what else I could have done. I had bodies on the ground. Maybe we had more bodies, of course, but like, it's unfortunately there's got to be a process in this, and God, thankfully, God, we've got some technology since then, but it took like a mass shooting in order for all these other things to happen and come to the market. So again, it comes back to just being on the forefront, man, and thinking ahead, and not to think in a world that we live in chaos, because I don't want to stress people out, but we're not in the same society that we were 20, 25 years ago, dude. And I think the biggest disruption, at least in the security industry, has been 9/11. 9/11 definitely shifted a lot of things in the industry, and then obviously now the biggest hiccup is active shootings and situations like that. So unfortunately, it takes disruption for people to start putting money behind this kind of ventures. But I like what you said right there, because again, it comes back to what we always talk about, being holistic, but coming from a proactive standpoint.
Yeah. In my agency, we're one of the few that is how we use our real-time crime center. It's all officers. There's no civilians. Not that I don't think civilians can do the job. There are plenty of real-time crime centers out there that are hybrids. They've got cops and civilians, and then there's other real-time crime centers that are just civilian. It is possible to do, but if you're going to be proactive, you want that experience. You actually want, and this is a hard concept, especially for cops to get behind. If you are that cop in the streets, like everybody's like, man, Officer Snuffy, he is the dude. He catches everybody. He's got a Rolodex for a brain. He remembers all these people. He's got this great beat book. He knows his beat. He catches everybody. That's the guy you want in your real-time crime center. And the person that you got to convince, Officer Snuffy, is never going to want to be that caged animal until you show him, look, you caught 3 bad guys a day. If I put you in here, you're going to catch 12.
Yeah.
You're going to be a part of all of it. And when that light bulb and they see it happen finally goes off, that's when because I've got a couple of those in my real-time crime center. It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell to get those guys to get back there and do that. Because a lot of times what will happen with real-time crime centers is people are putting their officers that got in trouble back there. They're putting their officers that are injured back there.
Right. It's the motions.
Yeah. I want the person that wants that job. I want the person that understands their why of what they do and how they do it. So you get that, I call them wolf hunters. They're out there wolf hunting. You get your wolf hunters in behind that computer and all those cameras and all that technology. Dude, the sky is the limit when it comes to catching bad guys because they have the mind for it. The technology they can learn, that can be taught. But that street knowledge that they have, that's earned, and that is hard to get. And to get those guys back there. So if anybody's setting up a real-time crime center, you can do it with a radio and a camera. Or I'm sorry, a radio and a computer. And you can get rocking and rolling. Or you can get, the elaborate video wall and all that.
It's funny, man, because like all the casinos I see in Vegas and I work with, like they say, Taylor, we hire gamers, we hire coders to watch our SOC and our SOC because they're so used to simultaneously looking at screens, playing Call of Duty, of course, and they're gamers, but that's what they hire because they're quick on the trigger, so they know when people are cheating on the blackjack table or the roulette, and they catch people every single day, but it's no understanding what environment you're in, especially in a PD kind of law enforcement real time crime center setting. But I think you're exactly right. It can be a closet type of setting. It could be a whole video log type of setting. But having the right individual and training them properly to be quick on the trigger will be night and day difference.
Yeah, and when you start flipping the mindset that this technology and stuff can be used proactively. I'll give you an example of how I told you the trailer. I am specifically doing a violent crime detail on a corner store. There's been a bunch of drive-bys. There's been gang rivalry stuff going on there. So for 1 month, I was tasked to watch this spot. So the way we're using that proactively is I've got the cameras that are set up there in the intersection, and I am running every license plate that comes in and out. I'm seeing the foot traffic that comes in and out. I'm keeping a book, a log of all these known gang members that are going up and they're doing these open air drug deals and stuff like that. And so let's say I do see a plate that has a warrant hit on it or a fake plate. You know, that happens a lot. They like to use those paper tags. So
Right.
I'm letting that undercover car or the several undercover cars that I have out there, I'm letting them know they're not sitting there across the street. They're a mile down the road. Hey, I got this car. It just pulled in. The license plate's got a dirty plate on it. I'll let you know when it's about to leave. So now they know to start moving. They'll start moving when that car starts to go. They follow off. The store's none the wiser. The bad guys none the wiser. Follow him off, get him at a safe spot, maybe a gas station, someplace where he stopped, you know? So we're reducing the risk of a chase. We're doing everything on our terms, which is very rare to do in police work. So that is how you use this technology proactively. But there's no manual for this stuff. We're all figuring this out as we go.
Yeah. And
So
I think it's better to be known than not be known, even if it's not a crime or a situation. I would much rather be known of something that could be potentially bad than not be known at all. And I think what you said, Eric, is I walked on at Oklahoma State. I didn't get a scholarship at Oklahoma State. So being a walk on, and you have your own kind of adversity and self sufficiency and self discipline. So finding those kind of individuals that truly care about protecting
yeah,
the city, the county, the world, whatever environment, you have to find that initiative, and that's a selfless kind of effortless kind of mentality that you have to have in place, that hunter mentality, or
yeah,
what I call myself my sales team hunters,
yeah.
sharks essentially. So you got to find that.
Yeah, I think it's pivotal, and it's pivotal for any job. Let's face it. I mean, any
Right.
job you do, you don't want to hate what you do, and you sure as shit don't want to be bored doing what you do. So
Right.
I don't care if it's a SWAT officer versus, you know, a school resource officer. I want that to be their passion, their why. I don't want somebody that's looking for the good schedule, you know, and looking to get holidays off and stuff like that. That's a terrible motivator. That's that's a good byproduct, cool, but that can't. For me, you you don't have the spot. I'm not letting you have that type of spot. And real time stuff, the technology y'all are dealing with, that is the future of policing. That's the force multiplier. That's the my city doesn't have enough for an officer, but it's got enough for 4 cameras.
Right.
Okay, cool. Now you just helped. You at least help the guys you do have. I never want technology to be a replacement, but if you can't get the money for bodies, at least invest in this technology because it is going to help everybody. It's going to help the cops stay safer. It's going to help the city stay safer, and it's the return on investment is. I don't know that it can be measured, but I can tell you you'll feel it. You will definitely
Right.
feel it as the people that are out there. So it's cool
Right.
that y'all are doing stuff like that. Now when you guys are doing your podcast, is it like this? Is it set up like this? Are you guys all in one room together? How's that work?
We're actually doing a live webinar kind of podcast on the 12th next month, and it's just kind of a live Q&A
It's
session.
my
So
birthday.
you should definitely attend that one. Or it's your birthday, dude. I'm gonna tell you to attend the
Okay,
podcast,
okay.
but um,
I'll be 40.
yeah, well, congrats, man. Happy early birthday. But yeah, we typically it's a format like this we're doing right now on Zoom, and then sometimes we do it in person. So I get invited to do a lot of in person shows sometime, and it depends on the actual industry. So sometimes they invite my podcast to like a casino show, sometimes it's a retail show, sometimes it's a healthcare show. They want to because they understand I've got end users on the board from those verticals, and they want to talk about what's happening because I'm just like you, man. I'm a no BS kind of guy. Like I'm so focused on being transparent, and that's how I educate my sales team at Recourse. Like just be honest, man. Be accountable, be honest. So typically it's a live session like this or recorded session like this, and then sometimes we do live sessions and in-person sessions.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely gonna check it out because it's my wheelhouse. I love the tech side of this. Like I told you, it's where I'm guiding my career and all that. But so I'm gonna switch it just a little bit. Um, I guess you're the first person I've ever known that's played at like a major college for football. Um, so one, you walked on. What was that like? I've seen movies. That's all I've got to go on.
Rudy, yeah, Rudy.
Rudy and some of these others where the walk-ons are not treated very well. Is that
Yeah.
true?
It's partially true, man. I think it depends on the university. So I walked on in 2011, and this is back when Brandon Whedon was the quarterback.
Okay.
So this is back when they had the BCS too, not the whole college football playoff they have now. It was all done on a point system.
Gotcha.
So the way you got to a bowl game was all on the computer point system. But as a walk on, at OSU, I was semi recruited at Oklahoma State. They knew about me, but didn't offer anything. So it's kind of like a gray shirt, almost preferred walk on kind of vibe, but it's
Uh-oh. Looks like he locked up.
doesn't know you. So you're being constantly shit on for
Hold
at
on
least
1 second. You froze up for like 10 seconds. So you said it's a gray shirt thing, and then
Yeah, so it really depends on the walk on type, but for me it was kind of like a gray shirt preferred kind of walk on. So it's like they knew about me, but they didn't offer me a scholarship. It's like, Taylor, we think you've got talent, but you got to prove yourself. And so when you get there, when I got there, it's like, okay, no one knows me. The players don't know me. The strength and conditioning staff doesn't know me. The nutrition staff doesn't know me. The coaches don't know me. So when they hear the term walk on, it's like you're gonna get shit on from day one. It's hazing, it's extra lifting, it's extra running. If you the slightest technique thing that you mess up on, whether it's you miss a hurdle in warm ups, or it's a bad technique on squat or snatch, I mean you're gonna hear about it. And I got my fair share of that probably the first 2 weeks at OSU, and then when I first hit the field, I fortunately proved myself a little bit and got some street cred on the team, and the hazing didn't go away fully, but it was still there because everyone likes to haze. But I will tell you this, man, playing college football was a huge adjustment for me because I played high school ball here in Plano Senior High, and it was a huge adjustment for me because it was a full-time job at Oklahoma State. We only had 1 month off of the year, and that was May, because we have conditioning and two-a-days and season and all that stuff. But I think the mentality nowadays, just from this is my perspective being a former athlete, is um, going to a bowl game was a privilege at playing college football. It really was, and it doesn't matter what bowl game it was. That was like our highlight of the season. Doesn't mean if we were going to play in the Fiesta Bowl or the national championship. Going to like a small bowl, like an insurance bowl or whatever, that was a privilege going to a game because we get to go somewhere, we get to hang out at a new place for a week. Nowadays, this mentality is or this new generation has kind of poisoned the college football because there's no sense of commitment anymore. You have this transfer portal, right? And so these kids have these mentality in mind. Well, I'm going to go to school for 2 to 3 years or 3 or 4 years, and it's either NFL or bust. Well, if I'm not happy with my team the first year and I was promised to play and I don't play, I'm going to go enter that transfer portal and then go to the other school that offer me a scholarship. So that discipline and commitment nowadays is it's not there with this generation. And second to that is when you get to the bowl game aspect, a lot of these people either opt out and not play in the bowl game, and they just say, no, I'm not going to play. I'm going to focus on the NFL draft, even though they weren't that good during the
yeah.
season, or they don't play it at all. And I think that culture was around when I played, at least at Oklahoma State, and that culture now is fading at OSU and as some of these other schools. So I think that's the biggest hiccup with college football right now is the playoff series. I think the playoff is great. They need to expand it, but also the determination and payment of players. They pay players now and these big deals. We never had that when I played, so I'm like, damn it, I wish I got all this
Yeah.
money when I played. But I think that's the issue, man. It's like, how do you understand that balance of commitment anymore at a university when you've got a 5-star, 4-star recruit coming in and they're not happy and they say, screw it, I want to go to a different school. How do you keep that culture and that commitment? It's difficult, and the transfer portal, it's good and it's bad, and you got to find a. I don't know, man. I don't know how it's going to play out in the future, but that's kind of my feelings on it right now.
Yeah, and I guess me as a player, I was a baseball and hockey guy, but I would imagine, let's say you did go to OU and you don't know if you're going to play, or maybe they made you think you were going to play and then you're not playing. I got to shine somewhere.
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
that. I get that appeal. So, because your window's small.
yeah.
You got 4 years to prove that maybe you got what it takes to make that 1%.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just raised different, man. I was raised with just a committed mindset. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do 110%. Even if it doesn't get the outcome I want, I'm still going to work towards and stay committed to that goal. But I think that's just how I was raised.
Yeah,
It's like you stick to a plan, you stay to a plan, you work towards the plan, you do everything possible. And that's why I like the Rudy story because he was like, I'm not the biggest guy on the team, but I want to play Notre Dame. I want to play football
yeah,
for Notre Dame. How can I get on the field? And that's what he worked his ass off. So that kind of mentality, I think, is what I mean by it's fading away.
I got you.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing with the transfer portal because I think you're exactly right. If they were promised something, they have an opportunity elsewhere to play in the field. 100%, you should have that opportunity. I just think that demeanor now is not where it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I guess I'd play it by ear as far because I'm a Wolverines fan. Even though
Okay.
I got my master's degree from TCU, like when that game happened, I grew up in Michigan, man. That's my
Yeah.
that's my team. And so I was rooting for them. Um, and for me, if I was ever gonna pitch in baseball, I wanted it to be for the Wolverines.
Right.
But if and this is where I agree with you. I'm the same mindset. If I would have tried to play for them, it would have been for the education side first. Like that would have been my main mission. Like, yes, it'd be cool if I made the pros, whatever. I'm gonna play ball, do all that stuff, but my first mission is to get the education because if I get hurt, I'm screwed. Or whatever. Maybe I suck, maybe I dominated in high school. That's great, but maybe I'm terrible when it comes to real competition. But if I get there and I feel like they're being dishonorable a little bit, that is where I see that coming into play. Because
Right.
yes, the commitment thing, but they need to have just as much commitment in me. It may
Right.
not start me, which that's my own fault. But they better be committed to me. So I think that's the happy middle ground for me.
Yeah,
Just
I'm just saying like exhaust your options at all possible, and if it doesn't work out, and look for
yes, yeah.
alternatives,
Don't
man.
just jump ship because it's the easiest path.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I didn't even know that was a thing. You just told me, so I didn't know they had that option.
Yeah,
That's
it's
how
crazy
out
now,
of
man.
touch I am. But I only watch college. I don't watch the pros.
So did you used to play the NCAA video game
Oh
back in the
yeah,
day?
oh yeah. My player was Michael Vick's brother, Marcus Vick.
so
That,
so
phew,
yeah. So quick story, funny story, real quick. That when that video came out, I think they stopped making it in 2014 or 2015, whatever the year was. And there was a huge class action lawsuit about using players' names in that video game. And this was probably 2016, 2017. I'm done playing. I'm focused on my NBA now. I get a random check in the mail for like $5,000, and
what?
it says class action lawsuit, NCAA. Your name was listed in the NCAA like 12 or whatever video game. Here's $5,000 because
Oh,
apparently the class act.
nice.
I was like, sweet, I'll take $5,000. You can
Right?
use my name anytime. I don't care, you
Yeah.
know.
It,
But yeah,
that's kind of the mindset I have on this podcast. Like, people are like, dude, you. I've had people like try to like help me out, and they're like, dude, you shouldn't be like sharing other people's podcasts. You shouldn't be doing like. I'm like, why? What are they gonna take? You're missing out on the point of what the show is, and it's just the same point that you're making with your name. Like, how's that? They're not doing any like all it does is help you in the long
right,
run. It brings
right,
attention. It does all that stuff. And that's how I am with this. Like if I share, I'm not talking about your specific podcast. There's people who have podcasts that are similar to mine now. And I helped them get started.
yeah,
I told
that's
them the
great.
equipment. I helped them figure out the software. You're our mission's the same. Like I want to
Right,
help as many people as I can. And if that's how if you're better at it than me, awesome. Like I'm all about it. Whatever.
yeah.
I'll just have a few views. I got some. My mom watches this. I got a loyal viewer. So,
I think people are scared of competition. They shouldn't be scared of competition
uh-uh.
because iron sharpens iron, man. Competition makes you thrive, and I mean, exactly. If you're better than me at something, then dude, I suck. I need to work. I need to be more
Yeah.
like you. You're a role model now. But people get, I think, shy off of competition, and it's funny, man, because a former Walmart director who's on my board, his name is Brand. He spent 25 years or so at Walmart, and now he found me on my podcast, and that's how he reached out to me on LinkedIn. He said, Taylor, I want to host a podcast, but I want to do it for the retail side. I said, dude, you should do that. You've got the
That's
expertise
his
and
niche.
retail. So he's like, yeah, what are you using for mic? What are you using for audio? So
I
I was
want
like,
that fucking mic, by the way. Dude, you sound so much clear. Like I don't know how I sound to you, But
No, you sound good, dude. You
but
sound really
hearing
good.
yours, I use the Rodecaster Pro 2.
Okay.
I got that whole setup going, but I hear your mic and I'm like, God, it just sounds so smooth. And
Yeah, Shure MV7, I think is the
yeah,
model.
yeah, that's the one everybody, that's Joe Rogan, all the good guys, they got that stuff. But I'm a poor cop and I did this shit on my own. So luckily I've started to get some sponsors and that stuff's been
Yeah,
helping. And it's
yeah, you
companies
gotta,
that really want to help the mission. It's
yeah,
they may or may not get anything back from it. Who knows? But they're in it to help for the cause, that's the type of backers I look for. So
yeah. That's what it's all about,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's awesome, dude. But all right, brother. I don't really have anything else. Is there anything that I missed that you want to bring up?
No, man, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for the invitation. It's definitely want to meet you in person now since we're both local.
Hell yeah.
Here in the DF Dub. So anytime you want to catch a beer, I was going to tell you this. I
Oh,
think
you're
I
in the
told Ryan this.
DFW?
I got a brother-in-law that runs distillery. He's the head distillery manager for Yellow Rose in Houston. It's a whiskey company.
I know Yellow
Bourbon
Rose,
company.
motherfucker. I drink it.
You drink Yellow Rose?
Yes, Yellow Rose
Oh,
is
dude.
awesome.
So my brother-in-law Jason, he's the head distillery manager at that Yellow Rose in Houston. So I got so many bottles, man.
Oh my God, dude! You haven't watched my podcast, so most of the time, me
Yellow
and my
Rose.
guest, we drink whatever fucking whiskeys that I can pull up. I got whiskeys I'm a bourbon man. I love my bourbon. So but yeah,
hook
a
you
lot of
up then.
times we cut it up and we drink and yeah, for sure. My absolute favorite whiskey right now is called Smoke Wagon. Have you ever had that one?
No, I have not.
Okay,
I've not tried
it's
that.
out of Vegas. Look it
Okay.
up. If you can get a hold of it, this is the creme de la creme. This is their unfiltered, uncut. I just like the bottle because it's so old school. Like this is wax inlaid
a
into
sweet
it.
bottle.
Like yeah, it's like you think of an old Western movie. Like that's the bottle they have in the back. So
I'm the same way with pistols, man. I'm a huge 1911 guy. I love
Oh.
1911s, man.
I'm glad to hear
So,
that. One of
yeah.
my kind of affiliates is HRH Combat Arms. He's a
Okay.
retired sergeant from where I work, and that's his specialty is custom 1911s. So
Oh man,
I can get you guys connected if you're ever in the market to just get you another 1911, sir.
I'll have to do it on the other account, not the shared income account with the wife, but 100%.
Yeah, you can't. It's better to ask for forgiveness later when
Do
she's
it on
like,
the business account, right? It's a business expense.
yeah, it's police related, But yeah, brother, I'm definitely down. I didn't know you were in the DFW area, so
Yeah, Prosper. So,
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You did tell me that earlier. I forgot. Yeah, for sure. We'll link up. I'll get you a tour of our real-time crime center. You can come check that out and see how we're doing what we do. And, maybe we can collaborate on podcasts or something too. So
yeah, man, definitely appreciate it.
not a problem, brother. All right. I'm going to end this.
All right, man.
Take it